Hi guys. So today we will be doing amino acids, right? So the building block of proteins. Before we move on to discuss what proteins are, it's important to understand what amino acids are. Amino acids, as the name suggests, are acids which contain amine groups, right? So you have a COOH group and an NH2 group attached to a carbon, and the two other arms can have any R can be in any large hydrocarbon group, and this can also be another group or an H. Okay, when we look at amino acids form peptide bonds between them, which leads to the formation of, so two amino acid blocks will join together to form a dipeptide, so on and so forth. So 2 to 10 of them together, we would call it an oligopeptide, and anything over 10 amino acids forming peptide bonds between them would form what we know as a polypeptide. These polypeptide chains will then get folded inside a cell and form a functional protein which will serve multiple functions in our systems, correct? So now if we want to classify amino acids in general, we have 20 protein forming amino acids, we call them protein amino acids, and we also have amino acids which are not coded for proteins, so they are non-protein amino acids. So what are these protein amino acids? These 20 amino acids are coded by our genetic system, our genes, during the process of translation. So they have their specific codons and anticodons in our system, in all systems for that matter. It's a universal system. And they code for proteins as per the genetic code, and they express the protein which then performs of a particular function in our system, correct? So out of these 20 protein amino acids, some of them are essential and some of them are non-essential. So what do I mean by essential and non-essential? Essential amino acids are those which you have to take in from outside sources because your body is not able to produce it. So there are 8 of them. You have leucine, isoleucine, valine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, lysine, methionine, and threonine. These are the 8 essential amino acids which are usually always required to be taken from the outside. Now, there are two amino acids, arginine and histidine, which our adult bodies can manage to produce. However, in children, it is not produced. So, they are called semi essentials. This is why these are required to be in larger quantities in maternal diet as well. And all the others, that is, you have the rest of the 12 if you consider only the essentials, or the 10 if you also consider the semi essentials, are called non essentials, which means that your body have enzymes to manufacture these amino acids in your system from other sources, so they can be made in the metabolic pathway, correct? Coming to non protein amino acids, so there are multiple. Three very important ones are ornithine, citrulline. Ornithine and citrulline both fall under they are formed during the urea cycle. The urea cycle is also known as the ornithine cycle. So this is your ornithine urea cycle. So citrulline is formed during that cycle. GABA or gamma amino butyric acid is a very, very important neurotransmitter which works in your brain, right? So these are your non-protein ones. There are others as well. Sometimes during coding of a protein, these protein amino acids form, yes, the major chunk of any protein that is being formed from your genes, from genetic expression, but they can sometimes also have non-coded proteins which are known as rare proteins. It's a very unusual occurrence, but it does happen. Okay. Coming to the classification of protein amino acids. Going ahead, protein amino acids can be classified into neutrals. So neutral is this structure where you have one amino group, one acid group, that is a neutral amino acid. So glycine, which is also the simplest amino acid, this one. Why simplest? Because the carbon has an acid, has an NH2, and in the other two arms you have just an H. So the R group is just an H. The R group becomes a CH3, it becomes an alanine, correct? So this is a neutral amino acid, and you have glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, and isoleucine, which are your neutral amino acids. Acidic amino acids are amino acids which, other than the original COOH that it is supposed to have, has an extra acid group. So here, aspartic acid. So this is the one COOH. This is the other COOH group. So due to the presence of the additional acid group, it becomes an acidic amino acid. So you have aspartame, aspartic acid, glutamine, glutamic acid. These four are your examples. You have to remember that aspartame is, because ends with N, it's represented by ASN, similar to glutamine, GLN. Okay, whereas glutamic acid and aspartic acid go with the first three alphabets. Coming down to basic amino acids. So basic amino acids are amino acids which have an extra NH2 group, correct? So here, this is a basic amino acid. So you have your arginine, histidine, lysine. These are your basic amino acids. Sulfur containing amino acids contain sulfur. You have cysteine and methionine in it. They contain sulfur, meaning that they have a sulfur containing group in them. Methionine is also extremely important because it is the coding protein for your starch codon AUG. So majority of proteins usually tend to therefore start with a methionine molecule. Now, coming to alcoholic amino acids, so obviously they have an alcohol group and OH group in them. So serine is a good example where you have CH2OH, correct? So then it becomes alcoholic. You have three of them: serine, threonine, and tyrosine. Aromatic ones are not linear. They have a cycle inside of them. They are cyclic amino acids. So this is an aromatic amino acid, correct? So difference between an aromatic and a heterocyclic amino acid would be that in a heterocyclic amino acid, the cycle has a nitrogen inside of it, right? Otherwise, for an aromatic one, it's a carbon ring. Okay, so for aromatic, you have phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, and histidine. And for heterocyclic, you have histidine and proline. Yeah, so now coming down to the idea of these three letter representations of amino acids, all the protein amino acids can be represented by their three letter names. So it usually tends to be the first three alphabets. So if it is glycine, it's GLY. If it is alanine, it's ALA. If it's leucine, it's LEU. However, when it comes to let's say aspartine and aspartic acid, because they both start with the same alphabets, then you use ASP for aspartic acid, and because asparagine ends with an N, you end it with an N, right? Similarly, there are a few years in theirs, but mostly they follow the first three alphabet rule. These can also be denoted by their single alphabet names, which also is usually the first alphabet of the name of the amino acid. We will do the names and the structures in detail in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.